My name is Nelson Schuman, and I'm the president and founder of Restored to Freedom, which is a ministry that works with people all around the world to help them to get past their past pains and relationships that they've had issues and challenges with, to be able to walk in more peace and to walk in the fullness of Jesus Christ. So today I'm going to be interviewing a woman from Kentucky. Her name's Stephanie, and we're going to be talking about a subject that most churches will never talk about, but it is an issue with people, especially those that are in the church. And it's called the spirit of incubus. And it's a spirit that literally will have or try to have sex with people, a lot of times Christians that are in the church. So it's a subject that a lot of people don't talk about, but the Lord's having me talk about that. So Stephanie, welcome. Welcome to Restored to Freedom.
Good morning. Thank you.
So I've kind of set the table. Before you've come on, I've explained that we're going to be talking about some spirits called incubus and succubus, which are spirits that literally are real. They are demonic spirits that will try to have sex with humans. And it's been going on since the beginning of this world, but it's obviously a subject that most in the church will never talk about. But it needs to be talked about. The Holy Spirit's been telling me and prompting me for the last several months to discuss this. And I know that you've had some personal experiences with that the Lord wants you to now share to help other people. And you've already shared that, I know in the past on some of my Facebook Lives that I've done. And you've helped a lot of people already. You're going to help a lot more. So if you could just kind of describe for the audience exactly what's happened in your life.
Okay, it started, I recognized that we had decided as a family to make some changes for the Lord's will, to grow closer to the Lord. And that was on a Monday, and it was the week of the Super Bowl. On that Thursday, I started being attacked. And Super Bowl evening, that afternoon, I was laying on my couch and literally was awakened by them attacking me. It was the incubus spirits having sexual intercourse with me. And it was many. It wasn't just one. When I finally came to, from the drawing that I've had to learn about these evil spirits that, I've not ever been taught about, but I've had such a drawing and a closeness to want to know and learn, I was able to recognize what was going on. At first, tried to put me in shame. I didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to tell anything, didn't want anybody to know. And the Lord kept speaking to me that I needed to contact you for 2 days. And I did. On the third day, you called me that evening. And that's when I told you everything that had been going on. And literally, I was awakened by my hips completely coming off of the couch. And I had dozed off maybe not even 20 minutes. I was being led. I decided that night. Fear came on me. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I don't get these off of me? But being able to recognize these, the Lord led me to Restore to Freedom book and in the prayers. So that night, I started reading the prayer. I just didn't feel like it worked. Yes, that's the book. Yep. Everybody needs that book. And the second night, I sat on my bed and was reading them aloud. My 11-year-old son began to lay in my lap. He had no idea what I was, binding and casting off of me. I started weeping, and so did he. I knew then I was free from it, that it had left me. I took authority over it. But I went ahead the third night and done the prayers again. I had completely deliverance from it. I will tell you that I've noticed that the more that you try to do for the Lord and to draw closer to Him, that's when the attacks are coming from Him. I was just recently attacked again, but instantly it was more paralyzing. The first incident, there's no face, it's all pitch darkness. And if I had to put it in, so to speak, worldly images, it would be at least 10 to 15 of them that attacked me. I could not, I was like paralyzed at first, but there was no face, all pitch darkness. I mean, I was literally raped, abuse, the after effects physically. I couldn't hardly walk for 2 days. Just so sore. It was just so painful. It was pure rape. And I got to thinking, well, I could understand if it was a face or this or that. No, God has showed me that it doesn't matter, because they come in and they use people that you know in their face to attack you as well, sexually. And it's still evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my heart's desire is to get this out there. It's nothing about me. It is not talked about in churches. I knew nothing about this, but I am ready and willing that if I can help someone else, and so many others I know in my heart are suffering and dealing with this, and it's shameful.
Yeah.
I
know that since you've spoken, that we've already had, I've had numerous women that have come forward and shared that they've also experienced that. Some have had, dreams where they, come into their dreams, and sometimes they know the people, sometimes they don't. I've even had some that told me that there was like a pastor of a church that was literally having sex with those in his congregation, women. Like, he would literally come in at night into their rooms and did not come in through the front door. I mean, these were spiritual attacks, but they were real. And it's opened up the door. I mean, it's opened up a lot of people's minds now to thinking, oh my gosh, is this really possible? I'm like, yeah, it is. It's happening. But
yes.
Nobody talks about it, so they keep it quiet, and then the enemy gets to keep on operating. When we expose it and talk about it, then the enemy's gig is up, because now we're on to him. And that's why it's important to talk about this.
And I'm so adamant on, it's my heart's desire is to be able to reach out now to help other people. It's not fun. Yes. And it is and can be embarrassing, but it's taken that first step, because at first it's like, I'm not going to tell Nelson about this. Why, God, do you want me to talk to him? Of people that are, that's not something that I just want to tell everybody.
Right.
You were the second person that I had spoken to about, and I knew this, it was, my calling was to speak about this and to come out and not be ashamed, no matter what anybody thinks. They called you crazy. This stuff is real, and the awareness and recognizing it and being able to take control and authority over it is huge. And yes, they've tried to attack me again, but I still, by doing the prayers and knowing how to take my authority, and my authority, that I have authority over them.
Yeah.
When it's, God promises us that we're going to have trials and tribulations. But what is so huge to me, and that I've learned, is that, we're not fighting against flesh and blood. It's principalities of this world. It's evil. It's evil spirits. And now I've known, before I even met you, I had such a drawing to learn about these evil spirits. Had I not, like so many other I know in my heart, has not and does not know about these and are not willing to come out and talk about the evil spirits.
Right.
It's time. And once you expose them, you're putting them under your feet and taking that authority. And God's given me the ability, the strength, the wisdom, the understanding to be able to do this. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed, because it is real. It happened to me one time. And there's something else that I need to share, that after our first interview on the Facebook thing, when I heard you speaking of how they can come in different shapes, forms of people that and it makes you think that, well, it's okay, it's normal. No, that's not normal. And that had happened to me as well over a year ago. And the Lord just brought it back to me and shown me that that was nothing but evil attacks, whether it was a face or not.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of men, and even myself, they talk about having what they call wet dreams, where they have a nocturnal emission. But now that I've done more research on this, I'm like, this is all demonic. It's a spirit trying to lure a man to have sex in their dreams. And I've also learned that there are some women that desire this, and they encourage it, and they basically, some of them are like, well, Jesus is my husband, I'm single, and then they end up having sex with these demons like every night.
Yes.
I know in Hollywood there's some people that used to talk about it. I know Bob Larson is in a lot of deliverance, and he said that there's a lot of people. I know Anna Nicole Smith used to talk about that she used to have that, and they almost like bragged about it, but they obviously were giving their lives over to demonic spirits, and it was going to cause them ultimately to draw to things that are unhealthy. And that's why it's so important, because we're getting closer to the days, and the Lord wants a pure and spotless bride. And so the enemy's going to step up his attacks on those people that are Christians. And we don't know exactly what percentage of people are being affected by this, but just by the early responses I've received from people on Facebook, I would guess it's got to be at least 25-30% or more maybe of women. And I'm not sure about how many men, but it's a percentage of people that are out there that are experiencing this. And we can't encourage it. We can't desire, because obviously sex is something that is, we get something from it. Obviously, there's a good feeling from that. But then obviously if it's in a negative format with a demonic spirit, then that's obviously giving ourselves over to the enemy. But it's just something that obviously needs to be talked about, and people in the church won't talk about it. Pastors won't talk about it. They don't know how to deal with this. So the Lord's having me deal with this, which is interesting. So
I knew that was going to happen. That was just confirmation as to why it was for me to speak with you and contact you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew that it was going to come out, and it was going to start with you. Did I realize that I was going to be the one talking and sharing it live with you? Not at first, but then it was such a desire in my heart that it's like, no shame. No, it doesn't matter what other people think, because I wouldn't be on here if it wasn't real and it wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize this, I just want the world to know that this stuff is not normal. It is not real. It is evil. It does happen.
Yeah.
And I've had others that are starting to reach out to me as well. And that's what my heart's desire is to help others.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we've seen is, Stephanie's talking about Restored to Freedom is a book the Lord had me write back in 2016, and it has basically the explanation of the spirit of Jezebel, because Jezebel essentially has this spirit of lust and perversion, and incubus, succubus spirits are basically underneath the Jezebel spirit. So when you get rid of the Jezebel spirit completely, then you get rid of those spirits. Now they may still try to come around, but you take authority and you can deal with them, and they can't affect you. But I have the prayers in the book to get delivered from the spirits of Jezebel and spirits of Leviathan. Leviathan's a prideful spirit. Jezebel causes people to control, manipulate. There's a sexual side that's not pure. They get jealous, and so it's and the Lord showed me about 75 to 80% of marriages are dealing with the Jezebel, Leviathan spirits, as well as Ahab, who, Ahab, Jezebel story was in 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Leviathan spirits in Job 41. And the 34th verse talks about being king over the children of pride. But you can imagine back in, Jezebel's days, they had the worship of Baal. They had, sexual things that went on that were not pure, and it was obviously all comes back to that. Those spirits are evil, they're wicked. They try to prey upon those that are especially in the church. And there are women that are being affected all over the place that don't know it. They know they're being affected, but they don't know what to say about it. They don't know how to address it. So this is bringing the darkness into the light and helping people around the world get set free from this. So it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And as we get closer to the end of the Christ coming back, the enemy's going to step up his tactics, and this is a pretty strategic tactic for him, for those that are in the church.
I truly believe that's by coming out and being obedient and us stepping out and bringing it forth, that there's a lot more in my heart. I feel like it's a lot more than 20%.
Yeah.
And I do believe that a lot more people are going to be able to recognize it
Right.
and to take their authority over it, because he's going to try to attack. And it's been going on for years. And until we learn and know and study what these, the principalities, the evil spirits really are, that we're not, and we've never been taught in church, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
it's real.
Yeah.
That's got to be able to learn and to recognize what we're fighting against. And, yes, there's things. I just highly recommend that book, because as many times as I've watched you and listened to you, compared to listening to you in the deliverance sessions and the things with Restored to Freedom, is nothing compared to what all is in that book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I can tell you that with my own experience by reading the entire book several times, there's something in there that's going to affect everyone's life, men
Yes.
and women alike. And when you take, it was astounding that he led me to those prayers,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in fear that, they could kill me.
Yeah.
If I don't do something about this, and I was led straight to those prayers,
Yeah.
and I didn't stop with it.
And they want to. They want to pull you in with the feeling of sex, orgasms and feeling good, but then they want to ultimately do kill you. That's what their goal is. I've even had heard this, that those spirits can basically become male or female. That's why they call incubus succubus. Succubus is a female version that will have sex with men. Incubus is the male version of those demons that will have sex with women. And there have been several that have told me that they can actually, somehow, basically get semen from a man and then try to impregnate a woman with that. And obviously, it's hard for us to comprehend that that's even a possibility. But obviously, if the enemy can do anything, he will try and do what he can do to cause all kinds of havoc in our lives, and ultimately to kill us. And of course, there's some that would invite those spirits to come into them. Those that are stronger in the Lord would absolutely want to reject this and say, this is completely demonic. I don't want this. And how do I fight against it? And again, if you take authority with the prayers that are in Restored to Freedom, you can break that off so they don't have the right to come back. And then you have to stand in your authority the next time they try to potentially work their way in, and command them to be gone in Jesus' name, and they can't touch you. So it is interesting, because actually after I talked to you, I remember there was a woman in Houston that I had dinner with, and she explained that the same thing happened to her. And then it was like later that week, another person had the very same thing happen to them, another woman. And I was like, my gosh, how prevalent is this? It may be 50% of women. I don't know. It's something that nobody wants to talk about. So in private, but I've gotten several messages. Again, I think they're all women that have messaged me saying, "Oh my gosh, Nelson, yes, I've had dreams. I didn't know what to do with it. Thank you for talking about this. So you are helping people, already, and I know people have reached out to you, reached out to me, and it's now giving them some hope of how to deal with almost an unbelievable situation in their life that they a lot of times they don't tell anybody, and they just struggle with it. And I know I've heard that sometimes, like when a girl is born, they can be molested, being a baby, and then the spirits have a right to come into them. They can be touched inappropriately as a little child, like a couple weeks old or months old, and that sticks with that child, that daughter, throughout the lifetime. Until we recognize that we are dealing with these demonic spirits, and then we can command them to go. But yeah, it's definitely, I'm so thankful and grateful that the Lord had you discuss this with me so that I can understand it. Because at first I'm like, I don't want to talk about this on Facebook, Lord. This is kind of weird. And the Lord's like, well, guess what? It's going on. And if you don't talk about it, who's going to talk about it? Because, these mainline preachers are not going to talk about it. The evangelists oftentimes will not talk about it. So I'm like, well, then I guess I need to talk about it then. So.
And most people don't believe, and it's so sad, in evil spirits. But that's what we're fighting against.
Yep.
It's real. It's recognizing them and helping other people. And it's okay. Is it shameful, embarrassing? All the above, absolutely. But you know what? He put it in my desire. And as you know, when he's like, I don't know how to, I'm going to do a live, Facebook Live. How would I do that? I knew that was coming. But then at that very moment, I was like, I'm ready. I'll do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I've been on it the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
It, I'm ready to do it and come out, because it's like, people are like, oh my gosh, you know, she's crazy. Well, they call Jesus crazy too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But it's real.
basically, the Lord showed me if we are not at peace in this world, we're being affected by a demonic spirit in some way or form or matter. And it's true. You know, I've seen it. You know, people that are affected worse, people that have bipolar, schizophrenia, of course, we all can recognize and say, yep, they're being affected by demons. But those that are in the church are being affected by demons because the demons know if they can cause them to take an offense or be angry and controlling or do sexual things that they shouldn't be doing, that they can't stop doing. There's a lot of people that are addicted, you know, to sex. A lot of guys, pornography, and so forth. Well, it's all demonic spirits that are tempting them, pulling them into it. You know, I know a lot of people, a lot of pastors and church leaders that are involved in pornography, and a lot of them are good people, but they feel guilty because they cannot stop it. Well, it's a demonic spirit that's drawing them in. You know, I've seen a lot of spirits of Ahab that they'll do that. They will be drawn to sex and they can't stop it. And those that have Jezebel Ahab relationships, they typically have sex, you know, but it's not pure and intimate sex. It's just sex, and it's not the way that God created it to be. And there's nothing like sex when you have pureness and intimacy, which obviously these incubus, succubus spirits want to interfere with. And yeah, I had one gentleman that I shared that he had met this woman, and he was wanting to talk to her husband, and she came into his dream basically and disrobed and wanted to have sex with him. And he knew the person, and he was like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't want to do this. And so he commanded in the dream for that person to be gone, and then they left. But how many men are strong enough to do that? Normally they would just go forward with it and then be drawn in. And then they were like, they wake up from the dream and have sex and say, wow, that was interesting. Or they would like, that's curious, or that felt good, but yet they feel a little guilty because they're like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be having sex with that person because I knew them. You know, why did that happen? Now, now we know. You know, they can have these unclean spirits in them, and they can, you know, come into your dreams or even come into your room and literally have sex. So it's just amazing what the enemy's capabilities are. So had you not shared this, I don't think that I'm pretty sure I would not be talking about this right now. So thank you so much.
It's my honor. It's, you know, it's not about me, you know, it's, you know, for God's glory and to exposing the enemy, and to let people know that it's okay. Doesn't matter what people think, what they say, but, you know, to give them something that where the ones that have been experiencing this, now I know, so I can share with them that I know exactly what's going on. And there's another thing that the Lord laid on my heart to share with you that I hadn't, but as learning and talking with you, it's not just that they come in, like say another male space with a woman. The Lord showed me this, and I'm able to recognize it now. But at the time that this happened, I had forgotten about this. Okay. But another female that I knew, that I know that has Jezebel, I knew that with everything in me, and I removed myself from those situations. Her face was actually come in and attacked me sexually.
Wow.
And so it can be female on female, and vice with the males.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And I had forgotten about that because it was so humiliating and embarrassing to me. And then when this just recently happened to me, January, the Lord just brought it back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I can just imagine how many people that are walking around with the spirit of Jezebel that are preying upon those that are in the church that they know, and they can cast spells, they can make declarations just like the Christians can, and try to interfere and cause others to have relations with them sexually that they shouldn't have in their dreams. I mean, that's just incredible revelation to get this out there so the whole world can know about this. And I know you can search it on Wikipedia. They have incubus, succubus, so it's been out there. They said since the beginning of time. It's just that, I've been in church my whole life. I've never heard one person talk about this. And it wasn't until several months ago when someone asked me what I knew about incubus, succubus, and I don't know anything. I started researching it, and then the next thing I know, I talked to you like within the week, and then you explained that happened to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know you. I've known you for almost a year, so I'm like, I know exactly what you're saying is true. And then when I had more people that week explain that they had it happen to them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an issue that needs to be talked about and addressed, and then help people. So thank you so much. I know you've already had people reach out to you like a lot since the interview on Facebook. So
yes, and that's my heart's desire, is if there's any way that I can help them from my own experience with this and help lead them and to get them delivered as well. That's my heart's desire.
Yeah, and this will be going out on KBN TV in Houston. So the fourth largest city in America will be able to have access to this, and it will also be posted on YouTube so that we can have even more be aware of this. And it's funny because there's a movie that just came out, I Can Only Imagine, by Mercy Me, and I can was just thinking about that. I can only imagine what this is going to do to help people around the world to basically now understand that they're not crazy, that they are experiencing some things that are demonic, and to expose it so that people know and help people in the church to get set free. Your heart is to be pure and to be righteous, and that's what the Lord wants you to be in, and that you are not seeking this out whatsoever. So for those of people that are questioning and wondering, just explain a little bit about, your walk with the Lord so they understand.
I've never been one, I've had questions. Well, doesn't this come from being in a cult or witchcraft? No, I've never been involved in that. I have grown. My strongest desire is to be closer and walk with the Lord. And I've seen there's been a lot of changes within my life, in my family's life, that is for the good. And it's been a calling that God has placed on our hearts to do. And that's what we've done. And, we're not promised that we're not going to go through trials and tribulations. But once you step out and start making a move, or it's calling you out, then you can expect, you're going to be attacked.
Yep. Well, we got about 20 seconds left here.
I just want that. I just thank God and thank you for your obedience, and that I pray that this will truly help so many millions around this world. That's my heart's desire.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Stephanie. And again, we want people all over the world to be completely restored to freedom in Jesus Christ. All right. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.